Hey everyone, it is Thursday, May 15th. JB and I and the dogs are in the park. This is a part two to the earlier video I did about the inspection report on my St. Pete duplex. I've had a little bit more time to go over it and the issues with it, but I've also had time to speak to my client, the lender, another contractor, and some other realtors that I have, just to ask some questions because the details inside of it were kind of interesting and the requests were kind of broad. But what was making me think was the fact that the repair requests were based on an estimate that was highly speculative. So I asked the buyer's agent, after speaking to the lender about some of the details, speaking to the other realtors about some of the things that they see in their inspection reports when they're on the list side and the things that they ask for when they're on the buy side. One of the things that came up was the estimates that they gave us weren't based on any hard numbers. They were based on the same inspector's understanding of the cost of repairs. And I said, hey, we understand these issues are here, as you've seen them. And because they're in this inspection report, if this deal doesn't go through, they're going to have to be disclosed to everyone else. I get that. But I need an itemized list of these issues. And I want it essentially line by line, unit by unit. It's a duplex, so don't ask me to repair an issue with one by charging me for both. Hey JB. So and the buyer's agent was, I think, caught off guard by that, but she was more than willing to get this done. We have an appraiser coming next week, so we're moving forward. We're in escrow, all that stuff, deposits made. But they're asking for a lot in terms of concessions, and I'm not a contractor, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect, but I can read an estimate that says for both buildings. If you have an issue with one, why are you charging me for both? That was one of the things that I was looking at, and I was just running by some other realtors to make sure I'm not looking at it crazy. So yeah, so now spoke to my seller, the client. And one of the things we realized also, this is a newer building, and I don't know if the buyer or the buyer's agent isn't familiar, but in Pinellas County, where I'm at, there's a lot of older homes. It's not like Tampa and the adjoining counties where there's a lot of new communities that get built. There's a lot of older homes. This one happens to be newer. So we realize, any issues that they have, the developer who built the home, the duplex, still has a warranty. Florida law is kind of strict about that, minimum number of years that you have to do any reasonable issues. And if we found a structural problem, the builder is required to handle it. So I let the buyer's agent in on that. She was kind of surprised. She didn't think about that given the age of the building. Sorry, my son just trying to do parkour. So essentially, once we get the itemized list, we can bring it to the builder. We still have 30 days left, before closing, so we have enough time to bring it to the builder's attention and see what's covered under the warranty, what isn't, and then we can make concessions, along those lines for things that aren't. So that's some more positive news, and I have a more positive feeling than I did earlier today. So that's the part two to the inspection report drama for my St. Pete duplex. So this is Christian DeBouche, licensed realtor with Real Broker, signing off. Talk to you later.